You raise a significant issue regarding the unchecked use of judicial discretion, particularly when it impacts fundamental rights such as liberty and freedom. The lack of accountability when judges exercise discretion without consistent judicial review or a transcript of proceedings creates a serious imbalance in the administration of justice. Without a record or a review process, the possibility of unchecked power increases, and it becomes difficult for affected parties to seek redress or appeal wrongful decisions. When transcripts are not available due to financial barriers, the ability of a party to challenge a decision is compromised. This situation can undermine fairness in the legal system, as appeals often depend on the accuracy of the record. Without a clear record of proceedings, reviewing courts have no way to evaluate whether the trial court or judge acted within the bounds of the law or whether the judge's discretion was exercised appropriately. Periodic judicial review, transparency, and the availability of affordable transcripts or other records of proceedings are crucial to maintaining the balance of justice. When these are absent, the system becomes opaque, and parties with fewer resources are at a significant disadvantage. Discretion, when unchecked, could lead to arbitrary rulings, reinforcing the idea that justice is not equally accessible. Ultimately, this issue points to a larger systemic problem: the accessibility of justice and the accountability of those entrusted with delivering it. A fair legal system should provide mechanisms that ensure all decisions are subject to review and that parties can meaningfully challenge those decisions, regardless of their financial circumstances. Addressing the issue of unchecked judicial discretion and the lack of accessibility to transcripts and judicial review requires systemic reforms aimed at promoting transparency, accountability, and fairness in the legal process. Here are several steps that could be taken to address the problem. 1. Mandate recordings of all court proceedings. Solution: require all court proceedings to be recorded, whether through audio or video. This ensures that a transcript or recording is available for review in every case, regardless of the financial status of the parties. Rationale: making the recording of proceedings mandatory would eliminate the reliance on costly stenographers and ensure that there is always a record for appeal or review. 2. Public funding for court transcripts. Implement a system where low-income individuals can apply for public funding to cover the cost of transcripts or other essential court services. Rationale: this would ensure that no party is deprived of the ability to appeal or seek review due to financial limitations, helping to level the playing field. 3. Judicial review mechanism for discretionary decisions. Solution: create a judicial oversight body or commission that periodically reviews discretionary decisions, especially those that have a significant impact on liberty and constitutional rights. Rationale: a dedicated oversight body would provide a layer of accountability, ensuring that judicial discretion is exercised within legal bounds and that patterns of abuse or bias are identified and addressed. 4. Appeals and recourse for unrecorded cases. Solution: establish clear protocols for appeals in cases where no transcript or recording exists, such as through affidavits, witness statements, or judicial summaries to allow for meaningful review. Rationale: if a transcript is not available for any reason, alternative methods should be in place to ensure that decisions can still be reviewed by appellate courts, preventing final decisions based solely on discretion without oversight. 5. Implement judicial performance reviews. Solution: enforce periodic performance reviews for judges, focusing on transparency, accountability, and adherence to legal standards. These reviews should include an analysis of the use of discretion and the fairness of rulings. Rationale: a formal review system would allow for tracking and evaluating judicial performance, providing a mechanism for addressing patterns of misconduct, bias, or inappropriate discretion. 6. Ensure access to legal aid and representation. Solution: expand access to legal aid and representation, particularly in cases involving fundamental rights such as liberty or child custody. Legal aid services should be better funded and accessible to low-income individuals. Rationale: ensuring that all parties have adequate legal representation can help mitigate the effects of judicial discretion and provide better oversight of the proceedings. 7. Strengthen judicial ethics and training. Solution: provide enhanced ethics training for judges, focusing on the proper use of discretion and the importance of maintaining transparency and accountability in decision-making. Rationale: a strong emphasis on ethics and procedural fairness can help prevent misuse of discretion and ensure that judges are mindful of their responsibilities. 8. Promote transparency through public reporting. Solution: require courts to publicly report data on the exercise of judicial discretion in key areas, e.g. bail decisions, sentencing, custody rulings. This data should be accessible to the public and subject to analysis. Rationale: transparency in how discretion is used can help identify trends and disparities, providing the public and oversight bodies with the information needed to push for reforms or address systemic biases. 9. Legislative reforms to limit discretion. Solution: enact legislative reforms that more clearly define the limits of judicial discretion, particularly in cases involving fundamental rights. Clearer guidelines would ensure that discretion is exercised within specific boundaries set by law. Rationale: when statutes and constitutional provisions are more explicitly defined, it reduces the likelihood of judicial overreach, ensuring that judges cannot dismiss important legal standards as minor or non-compulsory. Advocacy and public awareness campaigns. Solution: foster public awareness about the issue through advocacy groups, legal scholars, and civil rights organizations. Such campaigns can push for changes at the legislative, judicial, and executive levels. Rationale: public pressure and advocacy are powerful tools for driving systemic reform. When the public is made aware of the potential dangers of unchecked judicial discretion, it creates a groundswell for legislative or policy changes. Conclusion: the problem of unchecked judicial discretion can be addressed through a combination of transparency measures, public funding for necessary legal tools like transcripts, legislative reforms, and strengthened oversight. These steps would help ensure that justice is fairly administered and that no individual's rights are compromised due to financial barriers or the misuse of judicial discretion.